A big thanks to Squarespace for sponsoring this week's video.
So 2 years ago, this was just my hobby, doing landscape photography, and I am so lucky to come to places like the Faroe Islands and take photos and make a living out of it. And I wanted to do a little bit about that transition from a hobby to a career and how it's been for me. You know, is it now just like work, or do I still really enjoy it? So I thought there's no better place in the Faroes to have a little bit of a chat about it, because this is an amazing spot. So the answer to the question, turn your hobby into a career when you're in locations like this, is just do it, because obviously there's nothing better than hiking to places like this and just having the ability to photograph such beautiful places and know that, you know, I'm making money from it. It's just amazing. But it doesn't just start here. Obviously, you know, to get started in photography is difficult. You know, you can't just, not everyone can just set up a YouTube channel. Not everybody can just sell their prints. And, you know, those small steps to starting are really difficult. I remember when I first started my YouTube channel, and, you know, people said, oh, you'll make loads of money from ad revenue. And I made, I think, $3 in the first time I switched on ad revenue, which was 6 months after I set up my YouTube channel. You know, I didn't get a sponsorship for it until very recently. But it's not so much about how you make your money. It's, for me, this video is more about what is it like when you've taken a hobby like photography that you passionately love and then turn it into a career where you're making money from that hobby. And how do you avoid the pitfalls of actually not enjoying your hobby anymore? And do you need another hobby? You know, what's my hobby now? How do I have downtime? And you know, there's certainly things that I've thought really long and hard about, and now I've been doing it for 2 years. I've realised that, you know, I do need to take breaks from doing it. I have this commitment every week of uploading a YouTube video, and, you know, when I'm sat editing, there's definitely times when I think, oh, I really wish I didn't have to get the video out this week. You know, it's not, I have to be honest, it's not easy to do it every week. And I find, certainly for me, that the way to counteract that is make sure that I'm going back to the principles that I've set, that I'm doing something that I enjoy. Right. Okay, we just need a little bit of a timeout, I think. So, whilst I'm editing this, I realised that I probably just need to draw a diagram to try and explain what I mean a little bit and how the sort of hobby-career crossover works. Okay, so I've got a bit of paper here, and if we just think about a hobby, so if we draw a circle here, and this is a hobby, and, you know, if you think about the things that you want to get out of hobby, then there's things like a sense of satisfaction, you want time out, you want to have enjoyment, and you want to be able to sort of reflect on the sort of things that you've been doing maybe in your career. But you've also got, you know, if you want to turn this into a career, then we've got the career on over here. So if I just go, and we'll have a bit of a crossover here. If this is career, and this is hobby, then ideally you'll have some sort of crossover here. The problem is that when you do a career, you get all these boring things like admin and tax and things like editing videos, which some people may love. It's not something that I think is the best thing in the world. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to find what are those common elements. And those common elements have got to be something that work as a hobby and allow you to do that career. And if you think about that, you've got to think about the people that you're trying to make that career out of. You know, so that's usually about solving a need for somebody. So if I think about my career and what I actually want to get out of that in my career, then I want to be able to solve problems for others. I want to fulfill a need for others. I want to pay the bills, and I want happy customers. Now, obviously paying the bills is important from my point of view, but I need happy customers, I need to fulfill a need in the customers, and I need to solve your problems. Otherwise, I'm not going to have a career because nobody's going to want to buy any of the things off me. So what I've got to try and do is think, well, of these things like enjoyment, satisfaction, time out, is there anything that I can do that give me these that also allow me to do a career? And I think then that comes down to an individual thing. For me, what I found really great is sharing knowledge, sharing tips, and sharing adventure. And that's what I've tried to do with my YouTube channel. I've tried to do those things as best I can. You know, I feel like if I can do that, then I'm fulfilling a need in some, you know, for somebody. I'm maybe solving some problems, which is creating happy customers and helping me pay the bills. And also because I'm enjoying doing these, I like sharing knowledge, I like sharing tips, and I like sharing adventure. I'm also able to do some of these things, and these things become less important. The admin, the tax, the editing videos, not less important, but less bothersome, I suppose. So then I've got to think, well, what subjects can I do that allow me to share knowledge, share tips, and share adventure? So this is where it comes down to the things that I do. So they might be things like workshops, which are residential. They might be maybe one-to-one workshops. But at the moment, I'm finding one-to-one workshops are, perhaps a big use of my time for not the best benefit, because I've got to think about my time. So maybe I'm just going to drop those for a little bit and have a bit of a break on those. Prints are good, but they're not really solving a problem. They might fulfill a need because somebody might want to buy one of my prints, but it's not going to be the ultimate reason that I'm going to be able to make a career out of it. I might be able to eventually, but it's not going to be the ultimate reason. But it is actually part of my hobby. It's the thing that I enjoy doing. So I want to leave that in there, but it's probably going to be more on the hobby side. That's going to be more on the career side. And then I've got calendars, which is good. You know, that's fantastic to share my photos. It's fairly cost effective for somebody to buy. It fulfills a need for them, so that's pretty good, and I enjoy doing it. And I've got courses like the course I just did, the Mastering the Art of Landscape Photography, which was really good. I really enjoyed doing that. So, you know, that felt like I was doing something good for my hobby. There was editing videos, but I got some help with that. So there was quite a few crossovers there. And then I've got new things. So I might write some more ebooks, I might do another big project, or I might write a book. And if I keep doing these and changing these, and there's crossover between what I'm enjoying doing that gives me enjoyment and what fulfills a need for the people that are looking at this content, then that is going to make it to have these two things working alongside each other and have a lot of crossover. If I do too much of these things, or if one of these things like this one-to-one workshop feels more like a career, then I'm not going to fulfill a need in the customers that come on my one-to-one workshops, so I probably just need to give it a break. If I start writing ebooks and they feel like they're going over here and turning red, then I probably need to give those a break. You know, and I just make sure that all the things I'm doing are pushed more towards my hobby, but have an overlapping career. That is what's going to really, really help me be successful. Now, the thing that's lucky is that I've got YouTube that sits over all of this, that allows me to connect to an audience. And that's something you've got to think about. I'm not really talking about how you should build your business, but you've got to have some sort of platform to build that on. That might be your local exhibition you do, it might just be an advert you put on Facebook, or it might just be Instagram. For me, it's YouTube. It allows me to get a really big audience, and that is how I do it. Okay, so enough of me talking with diagrams. I'll get rid of all this now, and let's go back to the Faroes. I had a fantastic boat trip, and we got to this other island, and I had a chat with James about this and what he thinks about turning his hobby into a career. Okay, this video is not just going to be about my move from a hobby to a career of photography. We've got to take some photos as well, and we're in an amazing place. It's quite overcast and dull, and actually I'm here with James Popsis, and he has just said this is the perfect conditions for him, whereas I prefer it at sunset where we've got some really low light. But it's a challenge this, because we've got flat light, and there really isn't any detail, not much depth to the image. So what I'm trying to do is concentrate on real hard features and really sort of accentuate those shapes within the landscape. So the best thing with the Faroes is there are literally views in every direction. So here, we've got this amazing village called Bor. We've got a lighthouse here. And when I get to my camera, I'll turn you around and just show you the view that we're actually going to photograph, because it's incredible. So it's such a good location, this, and obviously we've got some amazing sea stacks, but what makes it quite good is that as you walk down the sort of headland, you get different sort of views as you walk around. And what I've been looking for is something to try and tell a little bit of a story of the scene. So the obvious shot is these amazing sea stacks in the background. But I've come across this sort of sheep pen here. Now ideally, in a perfect world, there'd have been some sheep sheltering from the wind. But I feel like it's going to make quite a nice foreground to my shot. So I've got quite a wide angle lens on, and pretty much the view that you can see now in this video is going to be the photograph. I've got to be a little bit careful with the sky, but I can't use an ND grad filter because obviously there's this sea stack there, so I'm just going to bracket the shot and then deal with that later. But it's perfect conditions really for midday shooting, because if we had sun, I think it'd be a bit harsh, but we can really create quite a soft looking image, a very sort of pastely soft, painterly like image. So let's go and do that now.
It takes so little just to make me smile, but you don't seem to be around. My body aches for someone who makes me right, but you don't seem to take the time. You're on a mission.
Okay, so I'm lucky enough to be in the Faroes, or well, James is probably lucky enough to be in the Faroes with me. Either or. So you've done the same. You've gone from, I presume, photography was your hobby, and now it is a career, I presume.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah.
So what yeah, because for me, I wanted to make sure I was still passionate about it. How have you found it?
Yeah, I mean, days like this, when you're somewhere like the Faroe Islands,
Yeah.
it's always going to be phenomenal, and it's
Yeah.
always going to feel like a hobby. I have found that kind of photography was a hobby for me before, and when I turned it into a job, I had the same kind of experiences like most people, I think, in this situation, where you start dealing with invoices and tax returns and all the other stuff that you don't have to do with a hobby, and that kind of, if you're not careful, can remove some of the
Takes the edge off, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And I think kind of when it's a hobby, my best advice would be that you need to make sure that it's really, really a passion.
Yeah.
And if it's not a huge passion of yours while it's a hobby, then the chances are you might not still love it when it's a job, because it's hard to put a number on it. But let's say doing it as a job and having the pressure of earning money from it takes away 25% of the enjoyment. For a lot of people, that's the difference between loving it and not.
Yeah.
So if you love it in the first place, really love it, live for it, then I think the chances are that just because you're doing it for a living,
Yeah.
it won't make a difference. But if you're on the fence, then it might not be the best thing you've ever done.
Yeah.
So,
And I think maybe it's a little bit unique for us. We're similar in that we've both got YouTube channels, but actually the photography part of it, although I probably do a little bit more than what I did, it's not like I do a vast amount more photography than what I did when it was a hobby,
Yeah.
because it's all those other things that I'm doing,
Yeah.
and so what I want to make sure is that those little bits that I am doing, I'm still enjoying as much as I did.
Yeah.
And that's really important.
yeah, and it's hard sometimes to put in the back of your mind, or put to the back of your mind, the fact that you do need to kind of make it a commercial success.
Yeah.
But the reality is that, first up should be your enjoyment of it, because
Yeah.
if you don't enjoy it, whether it's just a hobby or whatever it's for, then there's no point doing it. You
No.
might as well find something else to do.
No,
So-
no, I mentioned that before actually, when we were walking over here, that you've just, passion's got to be first, hasn't it? And I think that ultimately means that you're then successful. But it's easy said, when you're successful, but when you're not and you're just starting out, and if anybody is just thinking about doing it and taking those steps, then it is difficult, isn't it, to make those first changes. And it's a big step, isn't it, to suddenly maybe quit what you're doing and then take up a hobby.
It's a grind at the start. I find.
Yeah, it's so
kind of-
difficult.
It's
yeah.
a tunnel, basically. You have this wonderful life where you might have a 9 to 5, but then you spend all your free time doing what you absolutely love. And the reality is that for the first year or two, you've got to go through a real tunnel of hard work that might not be fun to get to the other stage where you can continue to do what you want.
Yeah. But it's worth it in the end, isn't it?
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, on days like today, certainly.
It's not bad. Cool. Thanks a lot. Right, back to more photography. So I just wanted to show you this print because I think this sort of typifies from this trip, and this was from actually last week's video actually on long exposures, but this typifies my love of the hobby really. It's always been about printing for me. You've seen from my videos right from the very beginning that I've just been so passionate about printing my photos, and this is the smallest part of my income stream really in terms of selling my prints. But it's the most rewarding. Most of the prints I do for myself, I still do it as my hobby. I'm thinking about putting this on my site, but I don't think I'm going to put this for sale on my site. It's just a print that I've done for myself that I'm going to put in my own collection. And it's that printing, and that's the thing that's really important. If I take a print like this, which looks just fantastic, I love just looking at the detail of it. I want to share that experience with you guys, but I also want to just make sure that I keep doing this and have this real love for it. And I think I'll just leave you with this before I go on to just talking about a few other things, and that is that I think if you've got passion and you add some sort of hard work into that, a lot of hard work into that, then I don't think there's any reason why that shouldn't equal success. And you've got to make sure that passion and hard work are in equal measures really, because if you just have a little bit of that and a lot of this, then you're probably not going to go anywhere. Or if you have a lot of passion but you don't work very hard, you're not going to go very far. So passion plus hard work equals success, and throughout all the things that I've done, I've found that to be a really, really successful way of looking at things. So I hope that's helped. If you are looking at moving your hobby, whether that's photography or something else, into a career, then I think what you've got to do is look at what you're passionate about in that hobby. Are you really passionate? Like James said, it can't just be a little bit of passion. You've got to be really passionate for the hobby. And then think, what can you weave into that passion? What are the things in that passion that you enjoy that then become of a benefit or solve a problem for other people? And if you can do that, then I think you can make a career out of it. And then it's just a question of hard work and pushing down, what works and what doesn't, and you'll find that you fail at some things and succeed at others. But the thing is don't start out with a view of making money, and don't think at all costs you've got to make money. I think obviously making money is important. It always needs to be in the back of your mind, but you shouldn't do that. You should go out thinking, I'm passionate about it, I'm going to work hard, and then I think what you'll find is that you'll start to make money from it. And to answer the question, is photography still my hobby? And that's a resounding yes. I mean, I go out, if I forget my camera and I just have my phone and I think I should have my camera, I'm just really annoyed. I look out the window and see amazing light and I get excited. My kids think I'm just bonkers because I get excited about light all the time. I'm super, super passionate about it, and it is definitely still my hobby. Okay, in a minute, I just want to ask your opinion on a couple of photos that I can't decide with on the 2020 calendar, because I'm still looking at this. I'll come to that. Okay, before we get onto that, I just want to thank Squarespace. And for this particular video, it's really relevant, Squarespace, because they make it possible for me to do all those red things, those tax things and admin things and all those sort of things. Can't find any of the labels. Admin things, admin, all those sort of things to just make it much easier, and I don't have to spend too much time doing IT. I can spend more time doing photography. And what I've done with Squarespace is I've set up a page with a few photos, some for July, a couple for July I think, and 3 for December for my calendar. I can't decide between them. I'd really like it if you click the link in the description below and went to that page and select which one you think's the favourite, and that'd help me out, because then I'll get some sort of feedback on what people like and what people don't, and I can put those in the calendar for July and December. So the photos are on the screen now. The December ones are obviously quite wintry, and the July ones are, I think, both from the Faroe Islands. So I just couldn't decide. I'd looked at so many photos. In fact, I had this, I think I showed you last time, this sheet here, and I put all sorts of dots on it trying to figure it all out, and then it came down to it, I just couldn't decide. So that'll be great. Thanks ever so much. And thanks to the sponsor Squarespace. If you're looking for a website, then you can go to squarespace.com, and if you're ready to go forward with that, then you can get 10% off by going to squarespace.com/NIKON.
/Nigel or use the offer code Nigel. There is one more thing, and that's my face. So, random. So a few of you mentioned on Instagram when I posted a video that I didn't look very well. And I don't know what's happened, but you've probably noticed now that my face is a little bit puffier. I've had it for about 4 weeks now, where I wake up in the morning and my face is super puffy, and then it sort of goes down. I've had loads of tests. I think I'm okay. I think it's probably some sort of allergen, or it might have been an insect bite. That I had a few insect bites on my arm. I don't know whether I reacted badly to those. But even though it looks pretty horrendous, especially in the morning, I am fine. But thanks to everybody that did send comments on Instagram. I couldn't reply to them all. I really appreciate it. Okay, I hope you've enjoyed this one. Until next Sunday, bye.